Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we have a special show for you. Mark Christopher Lee is a movie maker, director, and he's made a movie on the Rendlesham Forest incident. You know, in almost 11 years of doing this show, we've never done a full show on Rendlesham. Tonight is the night. Finally! So before we bring Mark in, let's say hello to everyone in our YouTube chat room so far. We have Eternity Eternal in the gold medal position. Tim Mothman and his goatee with a silver. Kitty Caddywhack with a bronze medal tonight. Race Fan, how you doing in fourth place? T-Bone, my man, you are awesome. Glad to have you here, and thank you for gifting the memberships. We greatly appreciate your love and support. Mel WD40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you can't talk Rendlesham Forest without a little bit of lube, so thank you, Mel, for making this one slide on through. Thunderhead, how are you tonight? Paramarv, nice to see you. And Little Cam on YouTube tonight, bench pressing 580 pounds 46 times before getting ready for tonight's show. Good job, Little Cam. Appreciate it. Luscious Jewels and Necessary Dialogue, nice to see you. Mama Catherine, I love you, my dear. I hope you have a great night tonight listening to this one. Mama Catherine will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. She only signs in gold Sharpie, just so you know. All right, moving on. Flat Six, nice to have you here. As we continue on with our roll call, we have next Operation Shutdown. Good to have you here. Chaz Mataz, how you doing, my friend? Thank you for joining us tonight. Walter Kotchabinsky, nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us. And who is next? Bolenia, my man. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Scrolling on down, we got Alpine Fur. We have in the studio. And we have number 29 in your program, starting at left wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. Good morning to you, Lars. Jerence Carter, nice to have you here. Jessica Davenport is here. Jessica will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Al Garay on YouTube ran 26 miles 3 times today before tonight's show. Record-breaking time. Record-breaking time. Good job, my friend. Barely broke a sweat, he says. Good job. Laura Elizabeth, how are you, my beautiful friend? Nice to have you here as we continue on with our roll call. Next, let's say hello to Desert Rat and Kurt W75. Good to have you here. Jay Truthseeker, thanks for joining us tonight. Sherry Hill, thank you for joining us. Gary J, how you doing? Excuse me, guys. And who else is here? Rory, how you doing? Good to have you here. Carol Amerio, Lisa Smith, thank you for joining us tonight as we continue on with our roll call. There's Blue Cruz. Good to see you. And let me see here. Scrolling down. Paul Nicholas, JSCO. Nice to have you both here. And there's, let's see. That's right, Al Gray. 3 times. 26 miles, 3 times. I'm Hardcore over on X. Thanks for joining us. Let's get the radio side going. Hello, Delilah. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to have a great show with you. Movie maker Mark Christopher Lee joins us from the United Kingdom to talk about his latest flick on the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. We are going to have a wonderful, wonderful night with him tonight as we take a deep dive into this subject. We are on our roll call on YouTube right now. We're just moments away from getting going on tonight's show. And we want to remind our YouTube chatters, the super chat is open. It is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you, T-Bone, for gifting out 3 memberships already tonight. Good for you. Thank you, T-Bone. We appreciate it. Our Spaced Out Radio store is open as it is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We do not have ugly swag. I put a new t-shirt up there immortalizing Jim Goodall, the legend. Yeah, go get that one. And you could shop for your VIP tickets for next year's Caribou Con at cariboucon.com. Make sure you check it on out. We want to have you all up here in British Columbia for that one. Do me a favor, throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show for you tonight. We're going to talk about the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. Back in the 1980s, movie director Mark Christopher Lee is here to talk about his latest film on that great subject. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off. Follow that up. The UFO Wizard will be here. Another night for another UFO anniversary, this time in Chicago. We're going to get to that later on. Mark Christopher Lee is a British filmmaker, UFO researcher, and cult broadcaster celebrated for his fearless storytelling and sharp working-class perspective on the unexplained. Known for blending raw investigative journalism with biting British humor, Mark has become one of the UK's most distinctive and outspoken voices in UFO and paranormal media. His films, including the Paranormal UFO Connection, UFO Encounters of the Fifth Kind, and Rendlesham, the British Roswell, have captivated global audiences and earned him a Best Director nomination at the Raindance Film Festival. Through his unique approach, Mark has bridged the worlds of the UFO research, spirituality, and government secrecy with the authenticity and edge that a good storyteller always has. Let's bring him on in. Mark Christopher Lee, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Yeah, great. Really excited to be on your show. Thank you for having me, Dave.
Well, we should say good morning to you because, here in British Columbia on the west coast of North America, it's still yesterday for you.
It is. It's the early hours of the morning. I've got up especially and I've got coffee on the go. So let's go.
Beautiful, beautiful. How did you fall in love with the UFO subject?
It was when I was a kid. I had a weird experience myself, which I'll go into later. But then also, at about the same time, there was a TV program here in the UK called Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World. And Arthur C. Clarke was the author of 2001 Space Odyssey. He was a proper scientist, but then he did this amazing TV series into unexplained phenomena. So he did Bigfoot, he did ghosts, paranormal stuff, and he did UFOs. And that just kind of opened my mind. And I really got into it as a kid then. And there was a magazine at the same time called The Unexplained, which was really good, came out monthly and had all these different UFO sightings. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. And that kind of drifted away a little bit, went to university, etc. And I guess then it was the X-Files that came out. And that kind of stoked my interest a lot, going back to this unexplained phenomena. And my most recent film, I was lucky enough to work with one of the stars from the X-Files, William B. Davis. He cigarette smoking man.
I met him, you know.
Wow, yeah, he is Canadian. So
I met him in 1996 when I was in broadcasting school, and he came to speak to us about being on television and broadcasting and being natural and teaching us how to work in front of a camera. He was amazing.
He is amazing. And we recorded him virtually because there's a studio in Vancouver we hired, and we just zoomed in to direct him, but we didn't need to. He was so good. So it was an honor to work with him, and his voice adds a different mysterious element to the film.
Oh, for sure. For sure. You are a beautiful storyteller, whether you're printing or whether you're on film. I've caught some of your clips over studying to have you come on this show. And the one thing that around here in North America, one of the things that I think many people enjoy is the British accent, because it just sounds so much more authoritative and knowledgeable. I don't know why, but it does. But I mean, the way you're able to tell a story and put words together, you make it very eloquent. You make it very, very demure to look into these types of subjects with a professionalism that many people don't give it.
Okay, thank you. That's a nice observation. I mean, all I can say is that me and my crew, Roderick Godman's my co-director, Guy Thompson, my best buddy, who I do these investigations with, we do take a different approach, because there's a lot of kind of very, very cliched UFO paranormal documentaries, films out there, and they do the same thing all the time. We just want to make it a little bit different, and I'm glad that comes across a little bit, educated, but also entertaining, because, making a film, you want people to watch it. And my mission, I guess, the way I want to serve the world is to get people that into this subject a bit more, especially in the UK, because, in Canada and the US, you take it a bit more seriously, especially UFOs, whereas in the UK, it's still very much a jokey, taboo subject. So I want to draw people in, which is why my last film I actually did was called The King of UFOs, which was about the British royal family's interest in UFOs, paranormal, crop circles, which not many people were aware of. And I kind of used that as a way, well, the royal family, they were looking at it, so maybe it's not that weird.
Yes, Prince Philip had a large curiosity about UFOs, and I believe it was his uncle or cousin that had a close encounter sighting.
It was Lord Louis Mountbatten, his uncle, and it was this sighting that it was his workman who was working on his estate down in Hampshire in England, and he saw this craft land at this Broadlands estate in Hampshire, and knocked this guy off his bike. And Mountbatten wasn't there, didn't see it, but this guy did an affidavit which Lord Mountbatten signed and vouched for his honesty and how it affected him. But Mountbatten was also an admiral of the Navy. He had UFO sightings whilst at sea, documented them. So he passed this kind of knowledge and interest onto Prince Philip. Prince Philip used to subscribe to Flying Saucer Review, and there was even talk of an alleged meeting that almost happened with an alien called Janus at a flat in Chelsea. Basically, Prince Philip had a private secretary called Sir Peter Horsley. And Sir Peter Horsley was in contact with this alleged alien called Janus, and he wanted to meet Prince Philip to share a message to save humanity and all this. I mean, most likely it turns out it was a Russian spy, but it's still a really interesting story and shows how, how much the royal family were into UFOs. And I wonder how much King Charles's, interest has been piqued by his family.
Do you think the royal family has a lot of history with UFOs?
I do, yeah, absolutely. And I think it comes down to, like I said, Lord Mountbatten and then Prince Philip. And then King Charles himself, when he was prince, he was very much influenced by, there was an Afrikaner environmentalist called Lawrence van der Post. He was a bit of a philosopher, I guess. And he was proposing that all life is connected, including extraterrestrial life, and that we can communicate telepathically. Synchronicity, meaningful coincidences were things to look out for. So I definitely think that the royal family are into weird stuff, and it's obviously kept secret from the public for obvious reasons. And during this film, the Rendlesham UFO, I spoke to, there's a chap called John Hanson, who's a retired police detective in the UK, very credible character. He wrote 2 books with Colonel Holt on Rendlesham, which we kind of use a little bit in the film, and because John's a producer of the film with Shirley, his wife. And basically he sent these books to Buckingham Palace, and he got a response from the Queen and Prince Philip saying they enjoyed the books, they're going to add them to their own UFO collection. So Queen Elizabeth had her own UFO library. How mad is that?
What do you think the future King William will have? Do you think he has that same admiration for the subject as his father and grandfather did?
Yeah, I think so. It's difficult to get any concrete information about this. The only thing we managed to find is that one of his homes, obviously because the royal family have many homes, and it's all in the news over here with Prince Andrew and all the scandals and stuff. But Prince William and Princess Catherine, they have a home in Norfolk. I think it's called Amner Hall, part of the Sandringham estate, which you might have heard of. And William's gone on record to say this house is haunted, and they've experienced paranormal phenomena at their home. And it's some old Catholic priest who was executed, and his ghost is alleged to haunt this hall. So, and his response to this when asked about it, said, it's a royal house, they're all haunted. So he's definitely open to paranormal and ghostly things. So why not UFOs?
Well, I'm pretty sure every castle and mansion that they own is haunted, because they're all at least 100 plus 200 years old or longer. I mean, there's a lot of spirits walking through there. But the love of UFOs in the UK, I talk to a lot of people. We get a lot of people in our chat room from the United Kingdom who watch each and every night we are on this show. And the consensus is very simple. The UK government does not want to talk about this subject. And why is that? Because I noticed that Canada is like that too. And I'm not sure if it's because, the Commonwealth way is if we don't talk about it, it doesn't happen. Or if it's just because of the Five Eyes or the United States and the pressure from the United States government. What do you think it is? Why do you think we're so silent on this subject?
Yeah, really good question, and something that comes up all the time, because we are starting a UFO disclosure group here in the UK. So if there's any of your listeners and viewers out there who want to get involved, please get in touch with me, because it is important, because they, like you say, they don't take it seriously. Still very much a jokey, taboo subject. And I think a lot of it is down to pressure from the US. And I think especially with the Rendlesham sighting, what we found, it was initially, it was a UFO sighting, there's someone in our film, an author called Richard Lawrence, who was one of the first investigators on the scene, and he phoned up RAF Bentwaters, spoke to someone there, and they were chatting about it. Yeah, it was a UFO. We're trying to get to the bottom of it, and something definitely landed. And whilst he was on the phone to this person, they just shut him down and said, no, it's classified, you can't talk about it. And so I think there was definitely pressure from the US to cover it up, the reasons we can go into later. And I think it's pretty much still the same now. And they won't take it seriously, because I don't think, there's a couple of things. Either they're covering up because they know what the truth is, it's alien craft, or it's secret tech, which they want to keep secret. And there's either, two of those reasons, or they just don't know, and it's embarrassing not to know what's in your airspace. And that's the opinion of Nick Pope, the former Ministry of Defence, who used to look at UFOs for the UK government. And that's what his opinion is that, there's stuff in our airspace, we don't know what it is. It's embarrassing. So why would we tell the public that we don't know what it is and scare them?
Now, the UK does have a rich history of UFO sightings outside of Rendlesham. Of course, the next most popular would be the Calvine UFO with the major photograph that people aren't sure if it was a diamond-shaped UFO or if it's a reflection of the water. Was that an AV-8B Harrier trailing the UFO, or is it a boat? I mean, it's a very confusing photo that you can really see both sides of it. With that rich history that the United Kingdom has, why do you think people are still so lackadaisical on it? Not just the politicians, but the public in general.
It's probably just our way of thinking. It's kind of out of our paradigm that we're currently in. It would force us to look at life differently. And this is the big thing with, ET contact. It would change the way we think, the way we live. And it's difficult for people to get outside that bubble. But I think collectively, definitely. But when you go, because I go to a lot of film festivals, I go to a lot of business meetings, just normal, everyday people. And once they'll see my pin badge, which would be an X-Files badge or a UFO, it gets people talking. And you can guarantee that almost everyone in the room will have had some sort of either paranormal or UFO encounter. So, I think we could, as a nation, open up. It just needs the right kind of people to give them that safety, to give them that permission. Maybe that's a big thing with the UK. We need permission to do stuff. Because the way we've been brought up. So I think a lot of it is that.
Who do you think is controlling the secrets? Does it go right up to the monarchy, or is it above and beyond that?
Ooh, I'm not sure if it's above and beyond that, to be honest. I don't have any credible evidence for that, but I've got an open mind. I think it stops with the UK and US governments. Whether there's a secret cabal that's overseeing that, I don't know. But there's definitely a cover-up in place, in my opinion. I don't think the monarchy, you have to realize, they don't really have much political power in this country, the way our parliamentary democracy works. They're kind of figureheads. They have to sign off legislation and things like that and give royal assent. But technically, it's just a process, really. And I think, there's things that go on that they don't know about. But we did find evidence that the Queen was asking for briefings on Rendlesham, particularly.
Really?
Yeah. So from the Thatcher government. But the Thatcher government, we do also have evidence that they shut down investigations into what happened there. And there is still a great crop circle researcher here in the UK called Colin Andrews. And he was investigating crop circles scientifically for the Margaret Thatcher government. And his research was shut down and was told not to talk about it because he found evidence, that these things were being created by some technology. It could be the same technology that's, behind UFO sightings. So yeah, there's a different kind of threads to this with the Rendlesham story, and which we can get into in more detail, but we investigated in our film. You know, can't rule out it could be alien craft, but it could also be just top secret, really highly advanced technology that we were testing out with the Americans, some sort of electromagnetic EMP weapon system. Because I think with Rendlesham Forest, just going back to that, because that was the focus of the film, you have to take the context of where it was and when it was. It was at the height of the Cold War in 1980. So, you know, the US and NATO were eventually, virtually at war with communist Russia, Soviet Union. And so there's this Cold War going on, and the arms race where, you know, more and more nuclear weapons were being made, but also there's always the enemy wanting to get the edge on you. So they were testing out new technologies and things like that. And ever since the Manhattan Project, and, you know, the military have always wanted to weaponize physics. And I think some of this was going on because at Rendlesham Forest, not many people know, just right next to it, there are two secret UK government research stations, one at Orford Ness, where the infamous lighthouse was. They were testing radar technology, and there was another one at Martlesham Heath nearby. So it's feasible that they were, you know, testing out some new, highly advanced technology in Rendlesham Forest or nearby that weekend over Christmas 1980. And the other thing that people don't really make the connection with, you mentioned Calvine, which could be the same technology, just, you know, it could be part of the same program. But also going back, did you know just 24 hours, I think it was 24 hours after the Rendlesham Forest sighting, you had the infamous Cash Landrum UFO sighting, you know, where people also suffered, you know, radiation sickness, burns, much like Jim Penniston, John Burroughs, who've both been medically retired from the US military. So there's lots of things going on, and it's really difficult to get to actually what happened. But we made an attempt. I don't claim to have all the answers. I ask the questions, try and find the information, and propose theories.
Well, we're going to get into more of that when we get back from the break here, as we are about a minute and 45 away from having to hit our first break of the night, Mark. This story of Rendlesham, why was this important for you to do this story?
It was important because it's always been called the British Roswell. But, you know, everyone in the US knows about Roswell, but everyone in the UK knows about Rendlesham. And there's so much, because it happened on military bases, and you had a deputy base commander, Colonel Holt, take it very seriously, wrote a memo to the UK government. It's all documented. Something happened. There were radiation readings that were above average. There's indentations of a craft of 3 things found in the forest floor. When you add it all up, there's a lot of evidence that something definitely happened. And it hasn't really been debunked. People have said, oh, it's the lighthouse, which it wasn't. And people say, oh, it could have been the SAS playing tricks, possibly, but I doubt it. And so it's still there, and it's part of British UFO folklore now. But what interested me, which we'll get into later, is that it wasn't just that sighting. People have been back there since and had very, very weird paranormal cryptid UFO encounters at this forest. So there's something about the forest, which is why I wanted to make this film.
That makes it even more intriguing, doesn't it? When you can add other elements to it.
Yeah.
Mark, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to our first break of the night. Movie maker Mark Christopher Lee is here. He has a great movie on the Rendlesham Forest incident. I suggest you go check it on out. The Rendlesham UFO, the British Roswell is what it's called. Came out just this year. It's a good one. It opens your eyes to the actual cover-up of what's truly going on. We'll be right back. All right, we're clear.
Hmm.
Good start, my man.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Thank you. It is a fascinating case. Just trying to
Many
read.
people in the chat room are asking the pin on your lapel. What is that?
It says the truth is out there. It's an X-Files pin.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Mulder and Scully. Yeah.
All right, let's see who I'm missing in the chat room here. Pat Leal, nice to have you here. Tokeland, nice to see you. Let's see.
I saw the bootleg version of this movie. Ooh.
You know you're doing something right when you get bootlegged.
Yeah, that's not.
I was watching my own shows on some Russian Rumble channel. That was nice. Big J, how are you?
I'm just trying to read some of the comments. You're welcome, Catty Whack.
Parasolo, how you doing?
I love the X-Files too, Gary J. I think because the X-Files was created by Chris Carter, who was really into unexplained phenomena. Used to read the Fortean Times and get a lot of his stories from there. So I took it very seriously.
You know, I've never seen an episode.
Have you not? Okay.
I've never. I feel bad about that, considering I'm, coming up on 11 years in this hot seat, and I have never seen an episode of the X-Files.
Well, there's still time. I mean, I would say it's the best ones were the ones that were filmed in Canada. I'm not just saying that. They're filmed in Vancouver, Washington. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, David Duchovny didn't like the weather.
No, we made them all move to LA, didn't they? Everything changed a bit then.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch the X-Files movie.
Kramer.
Yeah, the movie's good. Pilgrim Society. That's a good intro to it. William B. Davis is fantastic in it. Oh, he's a great actor. Someone.
Canada Chef Chris, how are you? NT, nice to have you here. Dave, what was the movie you mentioned before? I don't think I mentioned a movie. Oh, probably in the intro. Let me grab that for you. Let's see here. The Paranormal UFO Connection, UFO Encounters of the Fifth Kind, and Rendlesham, the British Roswell. Those are the movies I mentioned.
Yeah, the new one is the Rendlesham UFO, the British Roswell, which is out on Amazon now and Apple TV.
I might binge watch your shows this weekend.
Yeah. Don't be too scared. I mean, one of my favorite films that I did is called God versus Aliens, which is on Tubi in Canada and the US. And that's about the impacts the first contact would have on the world's religions and spirituality. And
that's a conversation that I love.
Yeah, and I think you might like that one.
Yeah.
It's not the biggest budget of films. I haven't been to Roswell, Julie Rios, which is I need to, don't I? Yeah, Tubi is a great, there's a lot of good stuff on there. Mitch Pileggi, shocker.
Jeffrey Green, how you doing?
It's a real life equivalent to William, the cigarette smoking man, quite possibly.
Yeah, it's Dave Scott. I can smoke with the best of them. All right. 23 seconds. T-Bone, thank you for your generosity for gifting away all those memberships. We greatly appreciate it, my man. Thank you to JSCO as well for our lone super chat. And T-Bone just playing the role of hero tonight. You are amazing, buddy. Thank you very much. Here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind everybody that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Mark Christopher Lee, Rendlesham, the UK's Roswell. Literally, what a story this is. A lot of people have heard the name Rendlesham, Mark, but a lot of people don't know what truly happened. Could you give us a synopsis of the incident?
Sure. It was Christmas weekend, 26th, 27th, 28th of December 1980. There were twin Air Force bases in the UK called RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge, very close together, basically surrounded by Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk, a very mysterious ancient place. And during this weekend, there were various sightings of lights in the forest that various servicemen reported. And eventually, the deputy base commander, Colonel Charles Holt, wanted to put the UFO thing to bed. So he went out, took his famous dictaphone with him and went into the forest with some people. And then he recorded what he observed, which were lights going through the forest, blinking, and then shooting up in the air, beams of light coming down. But also previous to that, there was an alleged landing of a triangular-shaped craft on the forest floor, on which servicemen Jim Penniston and John Burroughs say they saw. And Jim Penniston claimed to have gone up to this craft, which had strange hieroglyphic markings on it, touched the craft, and later claimed he had a download of binary code, which was translated years later to some sort of message about saving humanity in some mythical place called High Brazil. All very mysterious. The thing I would say with that, when we did our own investigation, I came home that night and all I could see was ones and zeros, binary code in front of me. Whether that was suggestion or whether it was a binary code download, I don't know. But it's very weird. So yeah, that was that Christmas weekend when it all kicked off. Holt basically was spooked by it. He was the base commander. Then he wrote a memo to the UK Ministry of Defence and basically poo-pooed it and, didn't investigate it any further. So it still remains technically, unsolved or nothing happened. But something did. And what people don't know is that it didn't just, end in 1980. People have been going there since then and having their own UFO and paranormal experiences there. And that's what kind of instigated me to look at this area, because everyone knows about Skinwalker Ranch, and I think this is the UK Skinwalker Ranch. There is paranormal phenomena, there's UFO phenomena, there's even a cryptid at Rendlesham, allegedly. So this is what our film is about.
My goodness. So how many people had interaction with this craft during the incident?
But over that Christmas weekend, at least two, Jim Penniston, John Burroughs. There was another one who was nearby, Edward Kassenbang, I think his name was. But also there was also another service person called Larry Warren, who's a bit of a controversial figure within this. He claims as well to have, seen and interacted with the craft. He claims to have seen aliens. But I do qualify, I haven't found any evidence. Larry Warren has his own story and version of events, which some people don't agree with. I'm being diplomatic here. But what's interesting is that there is a US military major, Lori Rayfelt, and she's gone on record recently to say that she experienced a UFO phenomena and saw an alien grey in 1980, just before the Rendlesham sighting. So she interacted with an alien grey at Rendlesham Forest, RAF Bentwaters, leading months before the December 1980 incident. I've interviewed her. She's very, very credible, and she's convinced that what happened to her was real, but it was paranormal. And there was a whole weirdness about the place she was telling me about. So she was another person who's definitely experienced something there. So yeah, there's various people that have gone on the record to put their version of events. And just to give you some example of how weird it gets, this, I don't know if you can see it, this is one of the sketches done by one of the civilian investigators that was first on the scene with this case. It's called Peter Parrish. And I managed to get hold of this sketch. And what it shows actually, okay, there was a main craft, but he says from his investigations, there were actually 6 craft involved. These were recovered by helicopter, and then they were flown on a big plane to a NATO base in Germany. So it just gets weirder. The more you look into Rendlesham, the more questions you have than answers. But all I can say is something definitely happened. It hasn't been debunked. And there is a weirdness there that's still going on now.
Getting back to the forest incident, this craft was on the ground. You believe that it was, or reported as a black triangle. Now, there is great debate about the triangular shaped craft, whether it's U.S. technology, whether it's alien technology, whether it's a combination of both. Can you tell us about that craft and then what you think it may have been?
Sure. Yeah, you are correct in saying that. There's most of the evidence for the shape of the craft and what it looked like comes from Jim Penniston. He's the one that says he interacted with it most. But his I guess his experience is both. It was kind of otherworldly to him as well, and same with John Burroughs. It's like they were kind of in a different kind of reality, I guess. So we have to take that into account. Was that because it was some sort of electromagnetic effect being given off? Were they effectively hallucinating a little bit? I'm not discounting what they said and what they saw, but that, you have to be open to that possibility. I mean, from my own investigations, I've spoken quite a lot with, there's a great investigator over here called Professor Simon Holland. I used to work with NASA and the BBC as a science filmmaker, quite level-headed. He's done a lot of research into Rendlesham, so I doff my cap to him. And he thinks it's most likely definitely some sort of new technology that was being tested out at the forest, just because of, like I've said previously, where it was between Orford Ness radar testing and Martlesham Heath. And it was some sort of weird craft. And we have to take this in the context, like I've already said, that 24 hours later, we've got the Cash Landrum incident, where another craft was seen, this one more diamond-shaped, but it gave off radiation and was accompanied by, military helicopters. But then also, if you look at the Cash Landrum the diamond shape that's been, drawn by the witnesses. And if you look at the Calvin photograph, that's pretty much the same shape on its side. So I think we're seeing a continuation of the same technological project, probably by the US and the UK. And this is what we're seeing. And this is probably why it's been covered up. However, I don't discount that what they did possibly, sounds a bit out there, possibly opened some sort of portal at Rendlesham, which explains the current phenomena and all the weird experiences people saw in the 90s and the noughties, which were documented in our film. I mean, I've got footage of an actual UFO in the film that John Hanson, the retired CID police officer, he took, I think it was in 1997 at Rendlesham Forest. So this, I can't tell you the answers. I want to. We can talk about different theories, but there's definitely something there now still.
What is your theory?
I'm tending to go with, they were testing some sort of tech out in the forest, got out of control. Maybe it ripped a hole in the space-time continuum and, maybe created a portal to as a connection to other worlds. Because my research into UFOs, and just to give your viewers and listeners a background, I do have a science degree, so I'm grounded in science. I studied environmental science at university, so I'm always trying to rationalize everything. But my investigations into UFOs for the past 30 years, I hasten to add, tells me that there's another otherworldly element to them. There is a paranormal element to UFOs and people who have, alien encounters. I think that they're part of the same phenomena. So that's where it's led me. So
when you look at, the evidence that is there, thinking that this may have been some sort of human technology, how does that explain the potential telepathy that people like Jim Peniston received?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the simple answer. It's whether he was, whatever this weapon was, if it was giving out some electromagnetic radiation, did that impact his thought process? Or did it, open up a portal to other dimensions and other beings, for want of a better word, came in through this portal? I really don't know. And it sounds out there, but we need to push the limits of what we're thinking at the moment, because what we're thinking at the moment can't explain paranormal or UFO, things that are happening. So that's where I tend to go. But yeah, it doesn't explain the telepathy unless you're on some altered level of consciousness and reality. Then that may explain it. And some people, suggested that's how aliens or non-human intelligence, for want of a better word, communicate with us. So that makes a little bit of sense.
Mm-hmm. Overall, many people believe that this was maybe even a little bit better sighting an incident than Roswell, because we do have people who admitted to touching the craft, whereas in Roswell, everybody kind of went silent on it.
Sure.
The fact that we have a lot more eyewitness testimony on this, including people like Peniston who touched the craft, how does that make this one a little bit more worthy of coverage rather than the Roswell incident?
Yeah, you're completely right with that. And the two main witnesses, Jim Peniston and John Burroughs, you have to remember they've been fighting a long time to get, compensation for their injuries, for their health was kind of ruined by this encounter. And, the US military has eventually given them a medical pension. So they wouldn't do that unless they, something happened. So something definitely happened. I think that we can all say that something definitely happened in the forest that weekend. And whereas Roswell, was it a weather balloon or something like that? But something technological definitely happened and interacted with people, and the witnesses are still alive. And there's also documentation in terms of the Holt memo and his dictaphone recording of what he saw, which is still brings, still kind of weird if you listen to it. I don't know if you heard it, but what he says with the beams of light coming down from this craft. It's like, whoa, what is this? So, yeah, I think it is the most credible UFO sighting that I know of. There is another one in the UK which I'm hoping to investigate soon, called the Penturk incident in Wales. And there's a lot of good evidence that a UFO crashed there and was retrieved.
Was there any physical evidence kept around from Rendlesham?
No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, there was damage to the tree line, which was documented and photographed. There were physical indentations in the ground where this craft was alleged to have landed, and higher levels of radiation. But in terms of there being craft, I mean, there was alleged photographs and even video supposed to have been taken, but we don't know where these are. And even the craft themselves, with this diagram saying these craft were recovered and taken to a NATO base in Germany. So no, but in terms of evidence of what's happening now, this person, John Hansen, the ex-police detective, he went to Rendlesham in the 90s with some friends, and were doing like a CE5 meditation before CE5 was a thing. And they would hear strange noises in the woods, but also they would hear this thump on the forest floor, and there's something coming out of the sky. And he was telling me that these rocks would just come out of the sky and land on the forest floor. And they would go and find them, and they were warm. And he showed me these rocks. He still got them, and he sent them off to a lab to be tested. And they showed me the report of this scientific analysis. And it's like these rocks had just been formed. There was no trace elements anywhere. So that is physical evidence that something weird is happening now. I can't explain it. These things are technically called apports that just appear out of nowhere. So it's very, very weird.
I don't normally take questions from the audience until hour 2, but Luscious Jules, she has a little bit of special pull around here. She's asking, do you know what the health effects of the witnesses were?
Yeah, massively impacted, especially Jim Peniston and John Burroughs, their health. I mean, because it's all confidential, we can't find out exactly what ailments they have, but their careers in the army were cut short, and they've received a medical pension from the US military for their injuries they've sustained whilst at Rendlesham. So that is documented, and they've gone on the record to say that. So, yeah, but that kind of ties in also with the Cash Landrum incident, which is just 24 hours later, where, Betty Cash and Vicky Landrum, I think it was, they suffered radiation sickness, radiation burns from the craft that they saw. So I'm pretty sure that Peniston and Burroughs had some sort of impact from radiation.
The fact that they went up and touched the craft. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can understand, and this is where I will agree with you on that it might be something human, is the fact that talking to the people that I've talked to who've worked with, aircraft that are secretive, not known, the amount of radiation that is in the paint for their stealth technology and radiation on the craft from their fuel systems and everything along those lines does make these craft very dangerous at times, especially if you peel off some paint or you rub something the wrong way or whatever it may be. Stealth is not a very healthy product, shall we say. That would give me the reasoning to believe that this black triangle or whatever it was would have caused a lot of that radiation sickness. But that being said, I don't see them landing a black triangle, which would probably be maybe even a multi-billion-dollar craft in the middle of a forest, when they could have just put it on the runway at night and moved it into a hangar.
Yeah, and you know, how would they direct? I mean, these stealth technology planes, I guess they're great at really high altitude, but at low levels and landing through a tricky forest environment, how is that possible? You see what I mean? And they actually had to cut trees down, apparently, to retrieve the craft from the forest. So maybe it just went wrong. Wasn't supposed to land in the forest. I mean, there's also, we have to look at the location again, like I said, but it's right next to the North Sea. And there's been sightings for hundreds of years of UFOs or lights coming from the ocean there. So I just wondered if there is a connection there as well. Because
that's very interesting.
Yeah, because there's also this ancient continent called Doggerland, which we've now found evidence that there was a previous ancient Neolithic civilization, and they found remains and things that under the sea, really deep. But that was a continent at one time. And, so it's not too out there to think, oh, maybe it's Atlantis, which is a bit romantic, but it is beyond the Straits of Gibraltar. But so yeah, it's all part of the mystery of the story, I think.
How long was the craft on the ground?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's around about 30 minutes until team came in to recover it, but I don't know.
So do you think it crashed or do you think it landed?
I think it must have crashed, because I don't see how it would find like you said, why would it fly through quite a thick forest? It's a pine forest. So it's quite, because it was planted, it's a planted forest by the Forestry Commission. So it's all kind of rows and stuff, but it's all quite tight. I don't know how you would get a craft in. Why would you want to do that? But then maybe we need to have a bit more imagination. We look at Colonel Holt's testimony on his tape that he recorded. There was a pulsing light that was going around the forest. There was one bit that was kind of molten orange coming out of it. So maybe it was just some interdimensional, maybe it's some plasma craft that was changing shape and form. Sounds out there, but that's what his tape, if we take it seriously, suggests.
45 seconds to go before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Mark Christopher Lee is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And, we're going to talk more about this after the break, but a lot of people don't know that Rendlesham military base was a joint base for the UK and the United States. So in this incident, the United States probably had a lot of pull with this entire incident. I mean, it's just dumbfounding how, and this isn't a shot at the Americans or anything like that, or people from the US, but it's amazing how much the United States has pull when it comes to UFOs. There's an incident here in Manitoba, I believe in the 1950s, where a UFO allegedly crashed. And before the Canadian military got there, the American military was already there and basically told the Canadian military to get the hell out of there because this was their UFO. Wow. And that is documented. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Mark Christopher Lee is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. You can find his movies on Amazon, including this one, Rendlesham. UFO, the British Roswell. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Scott. All right, this one's flying on by, Mark. I'm just going to put you in the green room, and we're going to take a quick break, okay?
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back, everybody. All right. I am back. We got about 90 seconds to go. Let's bring Mark back in. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Yeah.
It's exciting. Great show so far.
Yeah, really good. I just want to, I keep forgetting to mention that I know we're broadcasting on YouTube. They can hear this as well. But we need to talk about Margaret Thatcher shutting it down because the author, Georgina Bruni, she's no longer with us, unfortunately, but she spoke to Margaret Thatcher about Rendlesham and UFOs. And her quote was, "It wasn't UFOs, but you can't tell the people." That's what she said, yeah.
We'll get into that
Yeah.
momentarily here, but just amazing. AAO, how are you? Welcome to SOR chat. You go back to the original names, Matthew Goodka, by going into your settings and rechanging your name. Unfortunately, you can blame YouTube for that. They did a whole different setup there. I don't know why. Let's see. 20 seconds. Okay, we're good there. Good morning, Skip to my Lou. And thank you tonight to T-Bone with all the memberships he's donated. Jason from UAP Studies, your mustache looks fantastic. Thank you, JSCO and Jules and Dr. Bob for the great super chats. Here we go, everybody. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in as we talk about the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident with Mark Christopher Lee in just a second. First, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is Terramorphous. Terramorphous is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in our guest tonight. He's a filmmaker, a documentarian, someone who loves UFOs. Mark Christopher Lee is here, and we are talking about his latest film, The Rendlesham UFO, the British Roswell. And this is a story that has captivated the UFO world for decades since it happened in the early 1980s. Mark, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Thank you for having me.
During the break, and earlier in the show, you mentioned the Prime Minister of the UK at the time, Margaret Thatcher. She was very much the Iron Lady. She ran the UK with an iron fist, I should say. And she was someone who didn't back down to anybody. She was a tough woman. And when this incident happened, what was her reaction to everything?
Well, the one thing that I found, which is documented, there was a really great UFO researcher and author in the UK called Georgina Bruni, sadly no longer with us, but she managed to chat informally with Margaret Thatcher there was some sort of conference somewhere. And she went up to the Prime Minister and said, Rendlesham UFOs, what happened at Rendlesham? And she said, it wasn't UFOs and you can't tell the people. That was her response. So why can't you tell the people? Maybe because they were testing some highly secretive technology that would just blow our minds and they needed to keep it secret. Who knows?
Well, I mean, considering, as we mentioned during the break, that you had, Rendlesham being shared by the United States military as well as the UK, if this was some sort of human technology, then we would be looking at that secret probably being placed in there saying, hey, this craft was not supposed to come down. We don't want people talking about this or writing about it. And so that way, maybe Thatcher believed that this was the way to kind of help out her comrades.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a really good explanation. I think as well that the continuing US UK influence over UFOs in the UK is still here, because I've had someone contact me from the UK military who realized what we were doing with our film on Rendlesham, and they've told me that the UK has a joint UFO crash retrieval team here in the UK with the US that can get anywhere in the UK within 30 minutes to have retrieved any downed craft, which I find quite amazing, that the US would still have this influence over us. And why are all these craft coming down? Is it due to us testing stuff? Possibly.
The UFO story will not go away on this. There are a lot of people who are still arguing about this incident and want some sort of disclosure on it. Has, in more recent times, anybody brought this up to the Ministry of Defense or any other politician to look deeper into this?
No, unfortunately not. I have written to our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, and I have a friend who actually knows the Prime Minister, who's also a UFO researcher, who's kindly hand delivered this letter to Sir Keir Starmer. So I know that he's got it, but I've had no response. And I've also put in freedom of information requests about it, but then all I've had back is that can't talk about it under security grounds. So they're not revealing what happened. And what reminds me now is I've spoken to Nick Pope, a bit of a controversial character in the UFO community here, but I like Nick Pope. He used to work for the Ministry of Defense on its UFO desk, and he investigated Roswell. Rendlesham. I'm dropping in Roswell. It's still 6 a.m. here. It's and he says, obviously, because he's still under the Official Secrets Act, so he can't reveal to people like me what happened. But he will say this: when you understand what happened at Rendlesham, you'll understand the true nature of UAPs. So, which I find quite cryptic.
The forest that this happened in, British forests are much different than North American forests. So tell us about the forest where this happened.
Okay, it's a forest. It's a plantation. I mean, it's not that much difference from the ones you have in British Columbia. It's pine, fir trees, so it's coniferous, so it's evergreen basically. It's very densely packed. There's not a massive amount of wildlife there. So if you hear any strange noises, it might not be, local native populations of animals, which is relevant to our own investigations, which we can go into later. But I think the context of the area, although it is a planted forest, the actual area itself is quite kind of mysterious. Has a lot of folklore, mythology around it. It's right next to Sutton Hoo, which is an ancient Anglo-Saxon burial mound, very historic. And also in the area, you've had lots of legends of the Lantern Men, the Will-o'-the-Wisps, which are like orb sightings before, orbs and UFOs were things. People used to see these Will-o'-the-Wisps and the Lantern Men. And also legends of the Black Shook, which is like a cryptid dog, or the Black Dog. So all these kind of folklore, people have had these sightings for hundreds of years in the UK, are in this area, which I find fascinating. So there is a kind of mystique about the forest, about the landscape around here. Has it got some sort of special energy? Possibly. That's what I propose. And when we did our own investigation last fall, which is in the film, we went to the forest and we did what was called a CE5 process meditation with the aim of inviting UFOs, aliens, or whatever, to us. I mean, I'm quite skeptical about CE5. I've got the science degree and thinking, how does it work? How does the mind do it? But, I let that go and we did it in good faith. Got some training from a great lady called Ray Dove. And we did this. And as soon as we did it, we started hearing a weird electronic sound in the woods.
Oh, wow.
that was bouncing around. It was really, really, and you'll see it in the film. It's all real. None of it was added to. It was just like, wow, what was this? And we could not explain it. And we also had an EMF reader, which you'll see, and it just spiked out of nowhere, picking up radiation, electromagnetic radiation, and it kept spiking and spiking. And Esther, who was with us with the investigation, she had some dowsing rods, and they were just spinning around like this. It was like, whoa. It's like absolutely weird. So we tried to find the source of this sound, and it kept there was a pattern to it. It felt like it was trying to communicate, and it was affecting us as well. I guess the fear levels were going up, but we were doing an investigation. I wanted to find out. So we went in deep into the forest, and we saw orbs of light flash through the forest. It was really, really weird. And, we didn't, I don't want to give spoilers away. We didn't see any aliens or anything, but we did have a weird paranormal encounter, I would call it. And it's all documented on film, which is great.
Tell us about that paranormal encounter.
Well, yeah, I mean, we kept seeing these orbs of light, but we couldn't get to them, and we kept hearing this sound, but we couldn't locate the source, and it was kind of going around us, disorientating us. We all felt really weird. But then on the way back, after filming, it was really late, pitch black, making our way back to the car to go home. I'm a little bit spooked, but then we had this really weird howling. The only thing I could describe it was like a really weird wolf. Bearing in mind, there's no one here. We don't have any animals that can make that sound in the UK. It was really, really spine chilling, and it scared the bejesus out of Roderick Godman, my co-director. He's not easily spooked. He's just the no-nonsense guy that gets on with it. And he was like, whoa, that was so... I mean, I was a little bit freaked, but we were trying to find our way back to the car in the dark, and they had this howling beast in the woods.
Well,
so that was weird.
You do have werewolves over there.
Well, well, officially we don't, but unofficially, yeah, possibly. There's no wolves in the UK anymore. We used to, obviously, but not anymore. So it couldn't have been a normal wolf, unless it escaped from a zoo, I guess. But there are no zoos nearby. So yeah, possibly a werewolf, which ties in. There was a researcher called Nick Redfern.
Yes.
And he called this, he investigated Rendlesham, and he called it the Rendlesham shrug monkey, which is like a cryptid creature, maybe a bit like the skinwalker, I guess, or some sort of Sasquatch. So maybe it was this. It definitely happened. It was real. We can't explain it. We couldn't explain the electronic sound. We can't explain the howling. We couldn't explain the orbs of light. There's something happening now at Rendlesham Forest. And this is not just our investigation. People go there every weekend in the UK to witness and experience paranormal phenomena. People wouldn't waste their time. There's other places to go to, but they'll go there and they'll have encounters.
It just adds to the mystique of the story, though, does it not?
Well, that's why I wanted to make this film, because, people have made really good films about the 1980 incident. And, we do go into it a little bit, but that's not our focus. What intrigued me was, I spoke to people like Philip Kinsella, He's a really good UFO author. He's also a psychic medium. Lovely guy. We interviewed him for the film. He went to Rendlesham in 2000, I think it was. Did a similar kind of meditation thing with his friends, and they manifested a pyramid-shaped UFO that appeared in front of them. And it's like, whoa. And he, you know, his testimony is in the film. And there's more people like that have had these encounters at Rendlesham. But why Rendlesham? It was just if they were just testing out a craft, a new weapon, a new technology in the woods in 1980, why would the effects still linger on? Why is there still? There's got to be more than coincidence, because it doesn't happen everywhere in the UK. So something special about the forest, or did they open up a portal at this place? Did whatever they were testing with some really highly advanced physics, did it mess around with reality and create a bridge to other worlds? It sounds far out, but that's all we've got at the moment. And it only sounds far out because science still can't explain everything, in my opinion.
Were they doing any sort of secret craft testing there that you know of?
The only thing that I can get hold of is that these two places, Martlesham Heath and Orford Nest, were definitely testing radar over the horizon radar. That's documented. Whether they were doing anything else more secret is open to speculation, I guess. But you know, they're not going to tell you. They're not going to document it. They're not going to answer your freedom of information requests if it's that secret. But if you go back to the Margaret Thatcher quote, it wasn't UFOs, and you can't tell the people. It does fit into, you know, into that maybe being a secret technology of some sort.
Wow, that's just unbelievably awesome. Unbelievably awesome. Mark, you are just such a wealth of knowledge about this subject. Are there still a lot of people around that are talking about this subject out there? Like whether it's, you know, I know Jim Peniston and others are still talking about it, but is there anybody from, you know, that still lives in the area that discusses this topic?
There's a few people. One of the original investigators was a lady called Brenda Butler. She was a local, and she has a lot of knowledge on this subject, and she's the one that's had the most paranormal, otherworldly experiences there, and she claims to be interacting with cryptids there, for instance. And she's a wealth of knowledge. She won't talk about it much now, unfortunately, but she is good friends with John Hanson, who's the retired police detective who was executive producer on this film. So we've got a lot of knowledge through him, and he's the main investigator, as far as I'm concerned, because he's written 2 books with Colonel Holt, the Holt Perspective 1, the Holt Perspective 2. They are the best place to go for all the information on what happened, because it's not just Holt's version of events. John Hanson also looks at all the other evidence, and this is an amazing chap, John Hanson, because he's got this UFO archive in the UK in Stratford-upon-Avon, Shakespeare's country, and it's an amazing place. He's got like hundreds of thousands of documented UFO sightings from the UK, and this is testimonies, photographs, there's drawings, diagrams. He's got it all. It's an amazing archive and treasure trove, completely hidden away. No one knows about it, and I'm trying to help the world. We need to go there. Look, the evidence is here. The UFOs are real. These are all the hundreds of thousands of people who've had documented sightings. And the great thing about this archive is it helps to join up the dots, especially with Rendlesham, because it wasn't just that weekend. There were sightings all over the same area, Norfolk and Suffolk in the UK, all over 1980. It wasn't just that weekend. It was that weekend at Rendlesham Forest where something landed, but there were sightings in that area, you know, all through 1980, coming off the sea in Norfolk, in Suffolk, unexplained sites. So it's not just one event. I think we tend to focus on just one thing. There's a bigger picture at play here, which is why we need to bring in Cash Landrum and maybe even Calvin. It's all connected.
I think it is. As we got about 4 minutes to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour, Mark Christopher Lee, filmmaker, is on the show tonight talking about the Rendlesham Forest incident. When we look at this incident, the initial sighting apparently had a bunch of U.S. Air Force personnel seeing strange lights going through the trees, prompting that security team to go in. That security team, how big was it? And obviously John Burroughs, Jim Peniston were a part of that team, but how come do you think that other members of that team haven't spoken out about it?
Yes, that's a good question, because Jim and John are the two that have publicly gone on record. I think we need to take in context here that Jim and John, in various books they've written over the years, and also Larry Warren, who says he was present and experienced the UFO or whatever it was, they all say that they were debriefed by American, I don't know what the word is, special forces security, the team that comes in and tells them what they should be doing, basically. So I think there's an element of coercion, interrogation, dark arts of, the men in black, for want of a better word, who want to get the narrative. You don't talk about this. This is what happened. I think that went on, definitely. So that's probably why some of the personnel haven't gone on record, because they're frightened and don't want to pee off the men in black or the.
That's one way to put it, right?
Yeah. So, but Jim Peniston and John Burroughs, and maybe that's why Jim Peniston didn't go public about the binary code download.
What do you think about that? The binary code download?
To be honest, I always found that hard to believe. And I always assumed it was some sort of hallucination, or maybe Jim just added to it later on. I don't know why he would do that. It seems like a decent, honest person. Who am I to question his character? But I always found that really, really difficult to believe. But then if we're dealing with some sort of non-human intelligence, maybe it would communicate that way. The language of mathematics, binary codes, is it in its most simplest form of communication. So maybe, but the weird thing about that, I think I said it at the beginning of the show, is like when I got back from our investigation, it was a really, really long day and night, and was just lying in bed, and all I could see was ones and zeros in front of me. And, I'm quite aware that that could just be psychosomatic, because I know Jim Peniston's story about the binary code. Maybe that's what it appeared, but I'd never had it before. And it just, all these ones and zeros just appeared in front of me, and I could not sleep. It was really, really weird. So I was thinking maybe we took something back with us, because the following day, and this is all in the film, it's all documented, it's all on film. The following day in the morning, I was just relaxing in the garden with my wife, and she saw a light above the house, and it was like an orb, a UFO, for want of a better word. Luckily I got my phone out and was like, oh my god. So it sounds really far out, I know, and I've got a science degree, and I try and rationalize it. Well, it could be a plane, but then it's not strobing and it's not moving, and it's like I
hear you there, my man.
Did something follow us home? It's like, possibly.
You never know. Those UFOs, they could do that kind of stuff. That's what their game plan is, to follow us home and freak us out. Yeah,
definitely. And let's get on to John Keel in the next bit, because I'm a big fan of his. And
well, we could go in a few different directions here. We're going to try and get in some audience questions as well.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Mark Christopher Lee, we have him for another half hour here on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking Rendlesham UFO. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. Let me just unmute you here, Mark. 1 second.
Cool.
Jim Goodall, if you're in the chat room, trying to find something here for you. Bear with me. I'll get there, Jimmy. There it is. All right, let's click on this. And we gotta go. And go here. All right, Jimmy, this is for you, my man. So earlier tonight, I was thinking, what would be a really, really good T-shirt for our store online, and this is what I created. Hold on, let me find it here. There it is. There is the Jim Goodall T-shirt. Jim in an SR-71 right there. I don't know if you guys could see that or not. Hold on, let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. The Jim Goodall T-shirt. Now let me go back here. Where the heck is that window? Oh, there it is. There it is. Look at little Jim effing Goodall was here. You can get that shirt right now on the Spaced Out Radio store because we love Jim Goodall around here, and we had to put him on a T-shirt. There you go. That's for you, Jimmy. I sent you the link. All right, let's close that off. Bring us back up. There we are. All right, Close Encounters TV. Is that your channel, Mark?
It is, yeah.
All right. Welcome to our chat room, my man.
Yes, I'm answering. Yes, I have played cricket. It's a weird game. Someone's asked. Benno from Ox, 1975.
I don't understand cricket, but I love watching it.
It is quite meditative, I think. Watching it, definitely. It's quite a it's quite a weird game, I think. But it's English, isn't it? So
when I worked in Vancouver, sometimes I would stop by the cricket park in Stanley Park and watch them play.
oh wow. Nice.
Didn't understand it, but it looked fun.
That red ball though is really hard when that hits you. Whoa.
Oh,
It's like concrete, basically.
What's the purpose of not wearing gloves?
I don't know. The wicket keeper, the guy behind the stumps, he can wear gloves, but no one else can. Yeah. Do I play rugby? Oh, I have played rugby. That's for big, strong people. Rugby's even weirder. That's just a bit of a mess, in my opinion. I'm more of a soccer fan.
Well, everybody's got their flaws. Who's your team?
My team is Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield's that's my birthplace. It's in West Yorkshire, in England, and it's quite a small team. But our most famous fan, because I always say I'm the second most famous Huddersfield Town fan, because the most famous is Sir Patrick Stewart from Star Trek.
Yes. Yeah, you can't. No offense, Mark. You'll never take that.
No. I don't want to. No, but I've been trying to get Patrick Stewart to be in one of my films, but he won't do UFOs because of Star Trek. He won't. So he just automatically turns down anything alien or. So yeah. Come on, Sir Patrick, if you're watching, let's do it. Do I drink black tea or green tea, Mark? I should mostly drink coffee, but if I'm going to drink tea, I do drink all sorts of tea. I like, what's the word? Earl Grey is good.
All right, my friend, I'm going to get you to hold on right there for a couple of seconds. Thank you to Dr. Bob, Luscious Jules, JSCO for the super chats. T-Bone, thank you for all the memberships that you donated tonight. Greatly appreciate your love. Hurling isn't bad. I also like Highlight. Highlight looks so much fun. I would totally love to play Highlight. That looks like a great sport. We're coming back in 5 seconds here, everybody. Sit tight. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, we say hello to Mark Christopher Lee, hanging on out with us. He is a researcher. He's a filmmaker, a UFO documentarian. We've been talking to him all night long about the Rendlesham UFO, the British Roswell, his movie on that. And what an interesting subject tonight, Mark. Thank you so much for being here.
It's been a blast. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Great show.
I got a couple more questions about Roswell before we move on and then get to audience questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jim Pennison, who was a staff sergeant, I mean, he had his incident where he got the binary downloads, but the other person who came out with Jim, Airman John Burroughs, experienced something completely different. What do you think the reasoning was that they experienced something totally different?
Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it? Because Jim's version of events is slightly different from John. John doesn't remember Jim going up to the craft and things like that. I think possibly it can be explained just by disorientation, that whatever it was giving off some sort of magnetic field that was kind of disorienting physically and mentally, which can explain the differences, I think, whether it was alien tech or our tech, whatever it was affecting their version of events. That's what I think.
Do you think then that the contradiction that they have towards each other, not that it's a rivalry or anything, but the fact that they have two different accounts of what happened is, detrimental to the UFO case? Or do you think because many people who have UFO incidents, if let's say you and I had a UFO incident together, for some reason, when people see these craft, it's never the same story. I always see something different than you see something, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think they're both honestly told the truth as they saw it. And, it would have been easy for one to back up the other story. That would have been easier to do. So I think they're generally telling what they thought happened to them. And, I guess this goes into a wider topic on the nature of, if it was something else, the nature of what that was. If it was a UAP, UFO, there's always been this thing where consciousness, the mind, is interacting with it. So your mind is kind of creating what it thinks should be there. John Keel alluded to this with his cosmic joker hypothesis, and this intelligence which is kind of playing around with us, for want of a better phrase, messing with us. So there could be an element of that in this story, but I generally think that they're both telling the truth as to what happened to them, but it's not the same, which is weird. But then UFOs are weird.
Getting back to Jim Pennison for a second with the binary download that he alleges that he got, has there been anybody who's been able to translate or analyze the code to verify it on whether it's real?
Yeah, it was. I mean, he didn't write it down till years later, which, most people think that sounds suspicious. I don't know. But then he did have it translated, and I haven't got the translation with me, but it was something, someone might be able to tell me what it was, but it was saying something about preservation of humanity, and had these coordinates which go to some mythical island called Hybrasil, Hybrasil, which is some sort of Atlantis kind of place. It's all very kind of weird and a bit far out. But then that's what we get with this phenomena. If it was alien or non-human, maybe it was just playing games, or maybe it did have a serious message. Maybe it's similar to the messages that some say are encoded in crop circles. Again, I think sometimes we need to look at the bigger picture, not just individual events, assuming that this could have been alien technology, which I'm not sure it was. But yeah.
Now, 45 years later, you make this movie. The conclusion. What do you think the conclusion is, or is it still too early to call that?
I think something definitely happens in 1980. It was happening throughout 1980. So whether something was being tested or something was visiting us, I don't think nothing happened. Some people say it was just the lighthouse or the SAS playing pranks on the US servicemen. I don't think it is. Something definitely happened involving a craft, some sort, or maybe crafts. Some have suggested up to 6. So either they were testing something out or something was visiting us. The most likely explanation to me at the moment is that they were testing some sort of electromagnetic weapon. I don't know. I'm not claiming to be an expert on physics. Went out of control, crashed, had some effects on the people that witnessed it, possibly opened up some sort of portal to other realities, dimensions, which I know sounds far out, but it does tie in with the fact that people have witnessed unexplained phenomena since then. And like we did, we can't explain what happened to us. So at the moment, that's the most logical explanation to me. But, I don't claim to say, I'm not going to say, yes, that's what happened. This is it. I don't know. At the end of the day, you have to be honest as a UFO researcher and say, I don't know. There's something unexplained here. We need to keep researching it. And people are still reaching out to me now with more sightings, more evidence coming forward. So it's like, do I make another film about this, or do I need
to?
Right? Yeah, maybe. But
may have to.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
You wanted to talk about John Keel.
Yeah, I just think that there is, if we're dealing with non-human intelligence, I like that he proposed this ultra-terrestrial theory, because there could be this intelligence, either it's alongside us, already here, or in a different version of a reality that sometimes interacts with us. And because it's so far advanced, it feels like it's playing games with us. But he got a lot of his research just by going through newspapers and interviewing people that had these encounters in the 50s, 60s. And there was always another otherworldly element to the sightings, that they would take the appearance, some weird appearance, they would offer some strange food, or they weren't just straightforward, some UFO alien grey coming out and, doing, the weird probing thing. It was, there's something weirder and more untangible about it, and keeps changing for each person, and it's all very subjective, which is maybe why it remains hidden, because of that, because we can't quantify it, can't make it tangible, because it's something we just can't comprehend.
John Keel, obviously known most famously for the Mothman prophecies. You know, he loved the cryptid world. He loved anything that was weird and strange. Do you try and follow his aspect on how he did things with what you're doing, putting it on film?
Yeah, that's a good call, and also not saying this is definitely what happened. Having an open mind and just reporting what people tell you, because I do a lot on TikTok at the King of UFOs, and I'm just reporting basically on other people's stories, their facts they've sent me, what they believe is true, and then people shoot me down because, well, that's not real. I said, well, I'm not saying it's real. I'm reporting on one person's experience. I think that's important because it can be different for different people. It doesn't mean it's less real. I think we get to the way our scientific method is set up doesn't allow for expanding the mind, which is what proper science should do.
Let's get some audience questions here.
Please, yeah.
Starting off with Paul here. Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher were tight. How much info do you think they shared in regards to this?
Yeah, really good question. Thank you. Yeah, they were definitely tight. And there is some evidence. Professor Simon Holland makes the connections between Reagan and Thatcher. And he proposed a theory that the British were actually trying to sell a new electromagnetic energy pulse weapon to the Americans. And this is what possibly was being tested. And this was linked to the Star Wars program, which is why you can't tell the people. But they were close, and I'm pretty sure both of them knew what was going on and were involved in some way. So that's a really good question, and definitely think there is a connection between Rendlesham and Star Wars program.
Moving on, let's go to Pilgrim here. Do you know how the drones are spraying something to power the orbs? We have man-made orbs. I hear they are for surveillance. Are you getting a lot of the orb issues that some of Europe is right now and that the US had?
Massively. I get contacted every day by people who have seen orbs or drones or both, sending me videos. A lot of them are weird drones, probably our own, but with regards to the connection to orbs, that is just fascinating. I mean, there's groundbreaking new research going on at the moment, which I need to catch up with. Patrick Jackson's Sphere Network, and that is amazing. And he tries to explain it all, how it works with these different orbs. That's something that people need to look at, and I need to look at. I'm not going to go into it now because I don't know enough about it, but I know that it's cutting edge and possibly might explain a lot of this away.
Paramarv is asking, one man, Jim Pedersen, had some serious health issues, but I haven't heard that of others. Any thoughts on why John Burroughs was right behind him but didn't touch it like Peniston did?
Yeah, I think John Burroughs also had health issues and has his military pension on medical grounds, as far as I'm aware. But Holt, I don't think, had any health issues. And like I said, I think the other officers, servicemen involved were, debriefed not to talk about it, and that's probably why. And there is some evidence that they used really, really horrible things to these people not to talk or to tell them what to say or not to say. Sorry,
Do you think they're corrected in what they can and cannot say about the project?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think Peniston and Burroughs have gone above the parapet.
From the UK, Tony is asking, what is your opinion, and is it possible that the comm center for the subs were emitting just the right frequency to attract UFOs, just like what the dog whistle does with Jake Barber's Skywatcher team?
Wow. Yeah, that's an amazing. I never thought about that before, but Tony D, that is a credible theory. So yeah, maybe they were testing something out on that frequency they emitted, attracted in. Yeah, that's a possibility, and maybe it's still going on now in this place, which is why people are still experiencing the fun. Maybe that's what we attracted, because we did the CE5 psionics thing, for want of a better word, and literally as soon as we started doing it, things started happening. It was like we didn't have to edit hours out of the film. It's like, okay, there it started happening. So that's a really good question. Thank you, Tony D.
No problem. Let's get to another question here. Let's go to Jose. Has the TRB 3B been seen in the UK?
Quite possibly. I'm not aware. I mean, obviously, it could explain a few sightings, but yeah, not officially aware of this is a TR 3B. Pretty sure it probably has been seen.
Well, wasn't there that one incident off the UK coast, off an oil rig, where somebody had seen a TR-3B or the Aurora being fueled in the air by a KC-135?
Okay, I'm not aware of that, but I can look it up. That would be cool.
I believe that did happen. I just can't remember the incident.
I mean, I have been told that there was a crash in the North Sea off the coast of Blackpool of something, either a UAP or some sort of new technology in 1969. That's quite new information, which probably shouldn't be talking about. Okay. Carry on.
Right. Yeah, nothing to see here, people. Nothing to see here.
Could be another film. Someone's asked me, what was the production cost of your new movie? Not very much. More self-produced. So, yeah.
Apparently, the sighting of the Aurora was made by a gentleman from Great Britain, oil rig engineer Chris Gibson, in the North Sea in 1989. And apparently he was a trained aircraft observer, reporting seeing an unusual isosceles triangle-shaped craft, or isosceles. What the hell am I trying to say here? Learn English, Dave. Isosceles triangle-shaped craft, which he described as the Gibson Delta. Yeah, the specific oil rig sighting is a key piece of anecdotal evidence, often cited by those who believe the existence of the Aurora.
Wow.
It's very cool. It was in-flight refueling too.
Wow.
That's all right. Let's get to another question here. Go back to the UK with Tony. Gary Heseltine reckons that there was events and an ET meeting over the course of a few weeks. Does your investigation reveal stuff like this?
No, it doesn't, Tony D. Actually, Gary Heseltine, I need to speak to him because he's been doing some fantastic research. Gary Heseltine is an ex-police officer, used to collate UFO sightings for police officers, does great work, and he's been investigating this subject, the 1980 incident, probably more in depth than we have. As I said, our film is more concentrated on the continuing phenomena. But yeah, I've heard that there have been talks of aliens and meetings and things like that, which sounds far-fetched to me, but Gary's a very credible person, so it's worth a chat. The only thing that I do qualify that with, I think Larry Warren might be the one that's talked about this, and he's a controversial character. That's all I'll say.
Let's go next to T-Bone here. He's in Vancouver. Have you ever heard about the hot stones falling?
Yeah, I mean, I did say earlier in the interview that John Hanson, this retired police detective, went to Rendlesham in the 90s with some friends, did a meditation, and while they were meditating, these stones would just fall out of the sky, land on the forest floor, and pick them up, and they were hot. And then he sent them off to a lab to be tested, and there was no trace elements on the stones. So it was like they'd just been formed. So yeah, I've actually seen the stones and seen the lab reports, so I can confirm that.
All right, let's go over to Kim here, who is asking, did anybody see any glyphs or anything on the craft?
Yeah, Jim Penistone said it had hieroglyphics on it of some sort. But why does that happen? I mean, you have all these sightings, and they always say they've got hieroglyphics on it. Why? I want to know why. They always see hieroglyphics on these. I mean, if it is our technology, are they deliberately putting on weird symbols to use the UFO as a cover story, or is it aliens putting their weird symbols down? Let me know what are your thoughts. I don't know.
Well, in my case, it's always aliens, my friend.
Yeah, okay.
It's always aliens.
Okay, fair enough. Wish
So
it was.
it's just easier that way, you know. It really is. Derek is asking, you know, what's a production cost of something like this on your new movie?
I mean, on Netflix listening, if Netflix are listening, £100,000. The reality, because as Roderick Godman, my co-producer director, we have all the equipment in-house. So it wasn't very much, to be honest. The only real major cost was for William B. Davis. But then the other executive producer, Richard Crafts, he kindly paid for Mr. Davis's very fair fee, I have to say, but we went through his union, etc. So not very much, but we were lucky to have the equipment, etc., and the time to do it. But if Netflix are listening, loads of money.
250,000.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah.
Right? When
Yeah.
in doubt, 250,000.
It's a-
Quarter mil will get it done.
Yeah.
Real simply.
I'm just being honest. You asking me a question, I'll give you an honest answer. So there you go.
We only have about 2 minutes to go with
Okay.
you tonight, and it's a show that has flown on by, and you're so educational on this subject and everything. What do you want people to know about Rendlesham and this entire subject that you have covered?
I want them to open their minds. I think Rendlesham is a special place, and I think people can go there now and experience something. So go there, experience something. Tell me what you experienced. Document it, film it, take photos. Let's find out what it is. I think it is the UK skinwalker. Definitely something weird there. I mean, my mission is to get more people interested, you know, to share their stories. Because I'm pretty sure that most people have had a paranormal or UFO incident in their lives, but are just not willing, too scared to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Thank you.
And where can people find all of your movies? And maybe tell us about a few.
Sure. Okay. Most of them are on Amazon Prime Video or on Tubi in America, or Apple TV. I mean, obviously, I want people to watch the new one, the Rendlesham UFO, the British Roswell, which is out now on Prime. You can watch my favorite film I did. My first one is God versus Aliens, which is out on Tubi. And that's actually got Professor Avi Loeb in it. He's in quite a few of my films, and he's been in the news quite recently with his 3-Eye Atlas. And I love Avi Loeb. He's a great guy, for the record.
Yeah, it's an incredible time for what we are doing right now. And you know, the fact that you're doing your part to make these great films, we appreciate it. Mark Christopher Lee on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Coming up next in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off. We'll follow that up with The Wizard and the UFO Report.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Mark, thank you very much, my friend.
Yeah, that flown by, didn't it? 2 hours. That was
It did.
good.
It did. You can go eat breakfast now.
I might go back to bed, but thank you.
Take care, bud.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. You were so great.
Oh,
so
thanks,
great.
Dave. You too. It was a really good show. Really, most
Thank
enjoyable one. Thank you. Bye.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Bye.
Get some sleep.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. What a great guy. Absolute great guy. Another winner from Dirty Filth, booking a wonderful show. Very knowledgeable. Very knowledgeable. I'll be right back, everybody. Wizard, sit tight, buddy. All right, let's bring in the wizard. There he is.
Hey,
Wizard?
hey, I'm the wizard.
Yes, you are.
People say I wizard around.
You're that guy.
I'm that guy.
You're that guy.
You doing all right?
Doing good. Doing good. Hungry, but good. How about yourself?
Tired, but good.
Well, it could be a tiring thing, talking UFOs.
Well, it's more of a. Remember, if you remember on Monday, I said that I was going to start going to the gym, getting up, going to the gym in the morning,
Oh, yes.
and I've been consistent with it. So it's an adjustment for sure.
Uh-huh. I hear you. I hear you, brother.
But
All right.
hopefully, an adjustment that pays off in the long run.
I hope it does for you. Big thank you tonight to T-Bone for very many giftings of memberships, along with JSCO, Jules, and Dr. Bob with the super chats. Remember, you could go to cariboucon.com, cariboucon.com. Get your VIP tickets now for next year's Paracon up here, September 18th through 20th. VIP tickets on sale now. Here we go. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? It is Terramorphous. Terramorphous is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
My parents have basically been divorced all my life. So every other weekend, I would go visit my dad. He, my stepmom, and two of my stepsisters lived in a trailer, and that's where I would go for the weekend. A lot of people in the park are pretty normal, and there are a lot of people that live there. But there are some freaking weirdos, I'll tell you. Anyways, I was probably about 7 years old at the time, and one of my stepsisters was around 9. We lived next door to a family and usually hung out with the daughter in the family. Her name was Shiloh. The three of us would stay out at night until 2 a.m. God knows why our parents let us do that in a sketchy trailer park. We would also hang out at Shiloh's house a lot. Her dad was always home, and he would play with us, watch TV, etc. I never thought he was one of the creepy motherfuckers of the neighborhood. There is, or was, a clear shot view from Shiloh's living room through our kitchen window and into my stepsister's room. Now, my stepsister had a habit of leaving doors open when she would go to the bathroom, change, etc. You can see where this is going. One day, the two of us were outside playing on the front lawn when Shiloh's dad came walking up to us. I clearly remember him standing near us, watching, and we were looking up at him. He directly looked at my stepsister, smiling, and said, "Hey, Alex, I watched you change through your kitchen window last night." As young kids would do, we flipped the fuck out. I didn't understand at the time. I was just reacting to Alex freaking out. Alex ran inside crying, told our parents, and they called the cops. I don't know what happened after that exactly. Shiloh and her brother Jimmy moved to Florida to live with their grandparents, and their dad was arrested. Not exactly what for. Maybe the cops found some child pornography or something like that when they went into his house. After then, another family moved in, and that dad was arrested too. Not sure why. We weren't allowed to talk to any of the more neighbors anymore. Finally, they just took the damn cursed trailer out for good, and the lot is still empty next to their house. All in all, Shiloh and Jimmy's dad was a freaking pedo.
Creepy story once again from our buddy Swamp Dweller. If you want stories just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories of all sorts right there for you.
Space Out Radio presents a UFO report. The UFO wizard makes his presence known. Just running, just ready to go.
All right, let's get ready to bring in the wizard, Josh Rutledge, MUFON investigator from Arizona, who comes in to talk about UFOs a couple times each week. Josh, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, man, it's fantastic. Despite the slowness of the UFO topic right now, there is some stuff happening. So,
Well, you know what? We just come off the anniversary of the Travis Walton incident.
Yep.
And now we go right into an incident that's a little bit newer, but still the Chicago O'Hare incident anniversary.
Yep. It was November 7th, 2006 is when that happened. So today, earlier today, 19 years ago. So yeah, that's been a fascinating case for me, because ground crews saw it first. Like it was somebody working a ramp on a gate. It was above gate C-17 at the O'Hare Airport. Kind of middle of the day or earlier morning, but and a gate crew saw it. Or sorry, not early morning. Around 4:15 in the afternoon. Sorry. Gate crew saw it first, and they, the tower didn't report any radar hits, but it was supposedly around 30 to 40 feet wide, and it was about 1,500 feet in the air. No airplane occupants came forward as saying that they had seen it. But if you think about it, usually when you're sitting in a tarmac in an airplane, the windows are not designed for you to really be able to look up, above you. So, you're looking out. Either you're looking out to see, just kind of things moving by, or if you're me, you're putting in your earbuds, and then getting ready to settle in for a nice nap. So,
yeah, I mean, it is one of those incidents that still we're still mystified about. It was quiet, no sound.
Yep.
And it was allegedly a saucer-shaped craft, metallic dark gray color, hovering for several minutes before shooting right up through the clouds and making this perfect circle.
Yep.
In the cloud. I mean, there was pictures of that. You could go Google those pictures of the hole it left in the cloud. I mean, talk about mystifying, over one of the busiest airports in the United States.
Well, and meteorologists have claimed that what you're seeing is a hole punch cloud in those cloud pictures. But the weather conditions to create a hole punch cloud didn't exist at the time when this cloud formation was observed. So that the prosaic claim in this case has been debunked, basically. So yeah, it's I always wonder if there's some reason or importance to the gate that it chose to hover over. Does C-17, not necessarily as the gate, but like as a collection of a letter and a number, does that mean anything significant? The other thing is, a lot of people don't realize, but starting in 2004 and up until like the most recent in relation to this sighting October 31st of 2006, there were black triangle sightings, with not the traditional black triangle where it's like the three white lights and then the red light in the middle. These were three red lights moving together in a triangular formation, and those were occurring around like the Tinley Park area and stuff in the Chicago area. And that was, like I said, happening from 2004 to 2006, with the most recent one being just 7 or 8 days before the O'Hare UFO sighting. So it makes me wonder if there's any type of relationship between those two events.
Your overall thoughts of where this stands in American UFO history?
I mean, I think it's a fascinating case that cannot be easily dismissed. I'm sure that for the people who will find an opportunity to find holes and gaps in any case, for them, they'll find holes and gaps in this one too, and use that to explain it away. But in my opinion, the firsthand testimony and the lack of potential prosaic causes leaves this as one of the, I would say one of the more modern UFO cases that still to this day is perplexing.
Do you think that we'll ever get true answers to what's going on?
Oh, that's a big question, Dave.
Always
The
is.
the the hard part of your question is the word true. Because truth is, like the whole thing about, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Truth is in the eye of, or the mind of the believer, if you will. And so, I think just like the reason why we don't have significant progress in disclosure, because we haven't defined, like, any type of goal that we're trying to get to for disclosure. The same could be said for truth about what it is. In my own journey, since I started this in August of 2019, like on a more in-depth view, I've found, in my opinion, numerous truths. But are they widely accepted truths? Are they the truths that you're looking for, or anybody else who's listening is looking for? So the truth piece is hard, I think, to say yes or no to. If I remove the word truth and I replace it with, will we ever know, or just like, will we ever know what these things are and why they're coming? I think that a lot of people do know. And if you trust the experiencer and the people who have been abducted and the people who have had near death experiences and out of body, and you look at that entire collection of data and testimony, my conclusion is they're coming here for two purposes. One, to cause us to rethink the nature of our reality, which ultimately leads us to be better humans. Not just, I'm not like talking politically here, I'm just generally, we're better people when we stop thinking about ourselves as being somehow unique in life, or unique to the to the planet or whatever. We start thinking about holistically about the fact that we don't have another planet we can go to, and so it would behoove us to treat this one better. Things like that. Those are the messages that they tend to convey. And then number two, I think they have some sort of a vested interest in our reaching that level of enlightenment, if you will. I think people often think about enlightenment as being like this time when you transcend your physical form and you become glowing light and you float off into the sunset.
Right.
But enlightenment is just really reaching a point where you think about the importance of life differently, and not so much at the macro level, but at a broader perspective. So that's again my opinion based on all the different experience accounts and everything from across the phenomena, not just as it relates to UFOs, but across the phenomena. That's the underlying message.
What else you got for us tonight?
So have you seen Lukaski is back in the news is not the right, although he was covered by George Knapp on his local station, but Lukaski is back out there. For those that don't know, Dr. Lukoski was the director of OSAP, which is the program that was being run in the government to investigate UFOs that was talked about in the 2017 article for the New York Times. It was a precursor to ATIP. It's what Harry Reid and others worked really hard to get funding for. ALSAP was also done in collaboration with Bigelow Industries and Bass. And so Lukoski ran that program. And he's written a number of books. I've got, so far he's got, I think, 3 out. I've got 2 of the 3. I think there's a 4th either that just is coming out or is on the way. And then he mentioned maybe having a 5th as well. And everything he's been approved to say by the DOD is in those books. But he's back in the news cycle, if you will. And he was interviewed by George Knapp, like I said, on George's TV station in Vegas. And then he was also interviewed by Corbell and George Knapp for the Weaponized podcast. And the first part of that interview is available on YouTube. It's like an hour long. It's got some good, interesting information in it. The 2, I guess, kind of key takeaways that I've got so far is that when he did the interview with George Knapp for the Vegas TV station, George, they were talking about back engineering or, figuring out the technology of these retrieve craft. And George made the statement of, is this something that humans have created? And Lukoski interrupted and said, we're not dealing with humans here. So Lukoski basically said on air for a Nevada TV station that these craft that they've retrieved are not human created. The other key takeaway that he said on the Weaponized part 1 was that, in his opinion, Arrow is a counterintelligence program.
Well, let's get to point number 1 here for a second.
Okay.
That these craft are non-human. Okay. It's easy for somebody to put their skeptical hat on and say, okay, James Lukoski, where's your proof? The problem with people like James Lukoski is, due to NDAs, due to their security clearances, they are only allowed to say what they're allowed to say that gets pre-approved.
Yep.
They're not going to have photographs. They're not going to have video evidence. They're not going to have any sort of proof that this is actually going on, what happened. Why should we take his word for it when so many others in this field have tried to burn us on the truth?
I think that I don't know that I necessarily take his word for it. I think what I do is I try to look at what is the word, if you will, that the collective, if you will, all the different people that have come forward over the last, let's say, 8-9 years. What are the similarities in their stories, and what are the outliers? What are the deltas? And at least in this statement, Lukoski seems to support statements made previously by, Grush, by Jake Barber. So the difficulty lies in timing. Lukaski has made this statement now after Grush and others have made similar statements. So is he simply echoing what they've already said, or is he actually providing confirmation from what they've already said? And I think that's probably the ultimate piece, is that, well, if you really want to break it down, Dave, the ultimate piece is that we continue to get people saying words, but no evidence to support their statements. And I think that's what the point you're trying to make, right? There's no videos, there's no
Yes.
pictures, there's no, as far as I can tell, there's not even really any breadcrumbs that somebody could use to file a FOIA to get to any of that stuff. So the only other thing that he really said in the Weaponized interview that I thought was really interesting is that the Kona Blue program is continuing. It never ended. And so, maybe there's something there for the FOIA people that do FOIAs to go off and try to get information from. But to your point, or rather what we've seen over the last 8 years, is that it's really hard to get video and photo evidence to the public.
Can we even buy the evidence?
I think, I suspect that the database that Bass put together when they were involved with ALSAP, I suspect it is chock full of evidence. The difficulty lies, we've talked about this before, is that because Bass is an independent contractor, they're not subject to FOIA requests. So there's no legal action that can be taken to get to the database that Bass has from the ALSAT program.
The other point that you had mentioned was about, oh man, now all of a sudden it's escaped my mind. That's a bad time to have it happen while on the
that Arrow is a
Yes.
counterintelligence program.
The Arrow is counterintelligence. Many people will buy into that because of the way Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the former head of Arrow, treated that program. He was caught numerous times falsifying evidence, untruths. Probably the biggest was when he denied that he ever met Brandon Fugel, owner of Skinwalker Ranch, knew nothing about the ranch, had never heard anything about the ranch. And then Fugel said, pretty much gave him an FAFO and released a photo from the meeting where Fugel was breaking down the high strangeness at Skinwalker Ranch. And who's sitting in the background? Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick.
Yeah. I think the new director of Arrow seems to be more open to investigating cases, but I also think that he's gonna go where his leadership tell him to go. And so if his leadership doesn't have any intention of actually investigating cases, then I don't think it'll go anywhere. The other thing that Lukaski and George Knapp in the interview talked about was that Arrow seems to be really interested about just knowing who knows what. So they're really interested about getting witnesses and whistleblowers to come and talk to them and documenting all the stuff that they have to know, but they're not actually doing anything with it other than maybe harassing people, who happen to have their names mentioned by those folks.
We'll continue this talk. The wizard, Josh Rutledge, returns with a UFO report right after this.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear, buddy. Excuse me. Did you mute yourself?
No, I was looking something up. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. You don't have to talk if you don't want to.
No, I was looking to see if I could find something to occupy the second half. Because the Kasky stuff was. I do have a. It's hard. I don't. It'll be hard to talk about, but I don't know if you've seen the video of like the triangle looking thing flying over the volcano in Mexico.
No, I haven't seen that video.
I have not had a chance to research like where the volcano is and the possibility that it's maybe like the International Space Station that just happened to be really bright moving across the sky. But
I'm looking at the video right now. Hold on. Let me go like this here. I believe this is the one you're talking about. Let me go here. Let me go here. Let me go here. Let me go here. Are you talking this one?
yep.
Oh, hot damn, that's good. That is good. Replay that. Man, it goes right through that smoke.
Yep. I mean, it's definitely high, you can in relation to the volcano. But I've captured the International Space Station flying over before on night vision, and I mean it's basically what we're looking at here is a no IR filter camera, and it kind of looks like that. Like it looks anomalous. So that's the only thing that I could think of, though, that it could be is they just happened to catch the space station flying, moving over.
Well, let's talk about this. This is an interesting part.
Okay.
Let's get to this. What do you say, Jerence Carter? Heavy on the ints. Two minutes, Josh.
All right.
My boy and I are batching it this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mama's going down to the coast to. It's kind of an exciting time. She actually gets to watch my daughter try on wedding gowns.
Oh. Very cool.
That's very cool. And she's like, "Do you want me to take pictures? Do you want me to let you know?" No, man. I said, we don't get many surprises anymore. And I said, I want to have that moment where it's just me and I turn around and there she is in all her beauty. And that's what I look forward to. So I'm like, that'll be a nice moment.
Yep. Yeah, I have a few more years where I have to think about that, but yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'd like to be. I want it to be genuine when I'm crying when I'm walking.
Oh, I'm going to be
down
a
the aisle.
basket case.
Yeah.
I'm totally going to be a basket case. Cosmic Joe, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, she's not getting married till 2027. But I know I'm going to be a basket case. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be in my suit. I'm going to have, she's making me wear a suit. So Dad doesn't wear suits. And she's like, well, you will for me. I'm like, damn it, you're so right. All right, we're coming back in like 10 seconds.
Okay.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the host who wears a lot of tinfoil. I hope you join me in this new fashion trend. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, here we go. Final half hour with the wizard, Josh Rutledge on the UFO report. Weird sighting in Mexico, my friend.
Very much so. It's actually, so the video, for those that are watching on YouTube and such, you can see the actual object, but it's from 2024, and it's August 5th, 2024. So a little over a year ago, a year and 3 months or so. And you got a volcano. It's a camera that looks at the volcano, which, appears to be active, and a light which kind of has a triangular shape to it, moves from kind of beyond or behind the volcano, over the top of the volcano, and then ultimately out of sight of the camera. What I think is really interesting is there's a time counter on the video, and it looks like it's moving a regular, looks like it's moving a little fast. So it's possible that this is just a little bit of a time lapse thing, and maybe that's why it looks like it's moving fast. I'm not sure. I've seen a lot of videos though that people have captured where they've done time lapse videos, and so I wonder if a lot of UFO craft move slow because we're looking for them to move fast, and so they move slow. But when you speed up the video, then it looks like it's obviously something anomalous, more so than just something prosaic. Anybody, by the way, that wants to look at these, you can go to webcams, plural, demexico.com, and that's where you can look at all the different webcams around Mexico. And the volcano ones, this is just one of like 8 different volcano cameras. And I think this is also a live feed that's available on YouTube. So that's probably where this was found, was people were going back to look at previous live broadcasts, and they stumbled across this very interesting video.
The issue that I have with this video is it's getting so tough with AI now to try and break it down. Did this really happen? I know it's time stamped, or is this somebody trying to pull a fast one? Because I really like this video. I want it to be real. I mean, to me, that totally looks like a black triangle coming over the mountain's horizon. But I also could see, the idea that due to AI, I no longer trust videos. How do we trust this?
Yeah, no, I get it for sure. I mean, it's definitely something that unfortunately is plaguing us. I mean, AI, not just in videos, but pictures and even sound clips and things. It's just, stuff can be faked. I will say that, having gone to the website to see that, there is a camera, in fact, set up that looks at the volcano, all of the, all of the spelling on the bottom of the page all looks correct and appropriate. Um, the only way I think this would be AI is if somehow somebody put an AI artifact over top of an existing video. But there are times when on the timestamp on the upper right hand corner that the time jumps a little bit, and the artifact appears to match with those jumps. You can see it maneuver. It disappears when it kind of moves beyond or behind the smoke that's being, emitted from the volcano. I don't know. To me, this feels more like a natural video that was captured and not AI. But like I was saying off air before we came back, my only concern is that I haven't done the investigation to be able to say for sure. But my only concern is that potentially they just happened to capture the International Space Station moving over,
Right.
and it's just really bright in the night sky, and through a camera that doesn't have an IR filter. And it looks triangular to us because that's the way the light is radiating through the atmosphere, but in all actuality, it's just the ISS moving over.
Yeah, it could be the way the trajectory is, the way the speed is. It could be, the infrared camera exposing the light of the International Space Station a little bit brighter. I could see that. I just don't get the feeling it is, though. I mean, to me, this is a nice looking lit up triangle, but history does show that triangles aren't all lit up like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's it definitely, I think, is deserving of some actual investigation. Which I'll probably I'll probably do tomorrow to try to figure out, is there a prosaic explanation for it? And if not, like Sherlock Holmes and said, whatever remains, however, improbable, must be the truth.
It is something that is going to be interesting to see. I would be very curious about that. And how I found the video, in case anybody wants to find the video, I went on X and I just typed in UFO over volcano in Mexico, and it popped right up. So very easy to find these videos. That is the beauty of social media these days, my man.
Yeah.
Is that all you have to do is type it in and it shows up. I do appreciate the AI and the quickness and speed that it creates for things like that. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it's really another way that I've used AI when it comes to UFO stuff is like this weaponized episode that they just released with Lukaski. I could sit and watch it for 58 minutes, or I could download the video and then I can use AI to create a transcript of the video. And then I can throw that transcript into ChatGPT or something like that and say, hey, give me a summary of all the key points that are said in this interview. And then it'll summarize everything for me and let me know, what are the things that are worth looking out for. And I can even say, give me timestamps when these things occurred, and it'll do that as well. And then I can jump to that section of the video and watch it. So for wanting or needing to do some type of investigation or needing to just summarize a lot of content in a short period of time, AI is fantastic for that as well.
It's also, in the UFO world, could be the biggest detriment.
Indeed. I mean, we've always in the UFO world had issues with hoaxes. Even before video and photography was what it is today, there were, guys putting Christmas lights on Mylar balloons and inflatable remote controlled blimps and flying them around the neighborhood. I actually saw a guy the other day jokingly saying, I'm going to create a UFO incident in my city. And he had a helium balloon that had flashing LED lights inside the balloon. And then he had an LED foam thing strapped to the balloon, and he released it into the sky. So, here's just somebody that just wants to, I don't know, cause chaos and just continue to mutter, or not mutter, but muddy the waters as it relates to UFOs.
We have the wizard here, Josh Rutledge, on Spaced Out Radio for the UFO Report. Josh, what else you got for us?
Oh goodness. There's a lot of, I think what is really interesting there was an interview that was done by oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of the person, but they recently interviewed Burleson about the UAP hearings and his interest in the topic. And it does seem like that the members of Congress that have been involved in these UAP hearings do have a genuine interest. I wondered, part of me wondered at once upon a time if this was just a play to attract, votes, if you will, from people who are in maybe this, this subdivide of the population. But the more I listen to Burleson and Luna and Tim Burchett, the more that I think they either have had their own experiences or they know someone close to them who has had their own experiences. They seem to have a really vested interest in finding something out. I used to think that it was also possible that they wanted to, they knew these programs existed and they just wanted to be read in so that they would just be in the know on these things. Kind of like another rung on the ladder of, Washington, D.C. politics, so to speak.
Right.
But I also, like I said, the more and more I listen to them speak, that could still be part of it. But I do think they seem to have a vested interest. So,
have you noticed, though, that there does seem to be a little bit of a media tour? Even though the stories are quiet, there is a little bit of a media tour going on talking about the same subjects over and over again.
Yes. I mean, and that's the unfortunate, I think, truth of current or modern ufology is that, in the early days, after the Kenneth Arnold incident, and Roswell, there was a peak interest in UFO topic, and people were coming out of the woodwork to try to get involved and share their sightings and going to these different groups, meetups and things, and talking to people. And we saw the boom of ufology in the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and so on. But then in the 80s, in late 70s, 80s, we started, as a society, we started ridiculing people for thinking about that UFOs must be real, or that they must be, or they could be even prosaic things. They could be aliens coming to visit us or interdimensional beings. We started to create the taboo around the topic. And I think we're starting to see a little bit of that ripple effect now, where we have an interest by Congress and we have a general interest by the media to want to explore these things again. We're kind of coming full circle. The problem is that we've conditioned people who are interested in this stuff or who have their own experiences or sightings to be very guarded in how much they share because they don't want to be ridiculed. So unfortunately, what that means is it's a lot of talking about the same topics, because I don't think I don't think there's anybody pushing the envelope when it comes to ufology today. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think like my topic where I'm looking at how the energy lines of the earth may relate to, UFOs and paranormal experiences, that probably is one of the few push the envelopes things that have been discussed lately. I can't think of his name, that is all about Richard Dolan recently released a book about USOs, underwater submersible objects or whatever. Those, that whole book is a very interesting and new way of looking at the phenomena. Tim Burchett has echoed that position, talking about his being told about football field size UFOs that are underwater moving at 200 miles per hour. So there is some movement pushing the envelope, but that's, I think, what's missing is there's no one willing to take all the stuff that's coming out and then think, well, how can we look at the phenomena differently? And then secondarily, how can we then create any type of test or, can we look at this whole breadth of case information and everything we've had over the last 70, 80 years and put together some semblance of a theory as to what may be new worth talking about?
Well, I think it would be interesting because I think with the media tour, a lot of these guys, and yes, government is still shut down in the US. I think with a lot of these guys are looking to stay relevant, and a great way to get ratings for them, looking at it a more simplistic view, is talk UFOs. Because the one thing in media that we do know is if you look at all the podcasts and all the television shows now that are running UFO stories, a lot of them are not running those stories because they're knowledgeable on the subject. And it's not to take away from it, because any press is good press for this subject.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether it's a podcast with 35 followers or a podcast with 3.5 million followers.
Right.
Okay. Any press is good press on this. But I think what happens is a lot of these shows, when they are struggling for listenership or they are struggling for people tuning in, and they're trying to maximize views, they're trying to maximize the algorithms, whatever it may be, a lot of them actually do a UFO show because they see a major rating strike. Okay. Or spike, pardon me, not strike.
Yeah.
Spike. And so if you're, say, somebody like Tim Phillips, or not Tim Phillips, let's use Tim Phillips or Tim Burchett, one of the two, or any of them involved, and you see a channel that has inquired to you and it's got, say, 4 million subscribers, you're going to go on that show. If Joe Rogan calls up, or Julian Dory, or Chris Ramsey, or any of these guys with massive UFO YouTube channels, if any of them call up, you're going to do the show.
Yep. I mean, like you said, it's a way to stay relevant in the topic. And even if the as I'm sure subscribers doesn't necessarily equate to views, but even if you have 4 million subscribers, but if I guess what I would say is what I have found in my own just talking to people, just random people I see at the grocery store, that we just, standing in line and we get into a conversation about something, is that a lot of people have had strange experiences in their life, and they've discounted it because of whatever reason, but the multitude of different reasons, but they've discounted it. But when they have an opportunity to share that they've had this experience and get somebody's opinion who, is at least involved enough to that, they've done something in their, more so than just a hobby. They want to share it. They want to hear what you think it might be. So I think, the thing that's nice about those podcasts is even if they're just trying to fill a gap in a time gap, or they're just trying to pull in relevant topic that's going to potentially have a spike in their viewership, at the end of the day, the people who watch that episode, they might comment on the video and share their experience, or hopefully what they leave watching the episode with is a sense that it's okay to talk about this stuff. Like I said, we demonized almost people who had these type of experiences. We pushed them to the fringe of society, but there's nothing wrong about having an experience like this. And I think majority of the population have probably had experiences like this. So the resounding message to hear is that it's okay to talk about it, and you're not alone. And there are people out there who want to listen. I'm one of them.
I think we're all one of them. We're all Josh Rutledge right now. We're all the wizard. Hey, you can't make this stuff up, my friend. Tell everybody where they can find your podcast.
Yep. You can find all of my stuff on my website, my YouTube, my podcast, everything on my website, which is ourmysticjourneys.com. It's OUR mysticjourneys.com. I just put up a YouTube video the other day about why I think UAP disclosure is dead, but there's a way to rejuvenate it. And I've got a YouTube video going up the next couple of days that talks about how the entity that Mike Batista saw in his backyard matches an entity that I saw in my house.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Josh, as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Josh.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
You're the man.
I will talk to you guys next week.
Absolutely, you will. I hope you have an amazing weekend, buddy.
Yep, you too.
Thanks, man.
All right,
You take
later.
care. Josh Rutledge, everybody. All right. Tomorrow night on the show, we wrap up the week with our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. Always good to have our Keith on the show. It's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow night. Thank you tonight to T-Bone, my man, for giving away so many wonderful memberships to our YouTube chat room. Greatly appreciate that. Thank you tonight to Mr. Cowley, Amy, JSCO, Luscious Jewels, and Dr. Bob. Greatly appreciate your love and support. If you're new here, thank you for hitting subscribe, ringing that bell. We will talk to you all tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern on the mighty SOR. Have a good night, everybody. Much love to you. Stay safe.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.